Welcome back to New Views with Ariel Niu. My name is Ariel Niu. My content's all about human connections and how everything and everyone is connected. This video today is an update on my personal journey with psychedelics, cannabis, and understanding love. It's actually a continuation of from the very first video I posted on YouTube on my psychedelics journey, which I shared almost 2 years ago. These messages are very important to me, but I also think it's very important for me to share. Everything I share is my personal opinion and perspectives, and it's not meant to be taken as, it's not legal or medical professional advice. Read the disclaimer, view the disclaimer. This is actually an edited down version of an Instagram live I did last week, same format as the initial video. So I also did Q&A in the end. So if you're interested in the extended version to either watch or listen, it's available in my subscriptions. I'll link it down below as well. Thank you to you, my YouTube and my podcast family. If you like this kind of content, please engage with this content so I know to put more of this content out. Okay, thanks, enjoy. Anyways, when I was in my early 20s, I did psychedelics. I felt these higher powers coming over me. I felt like I was telepathically communicating with my friends, but it confused the fuck out of me because on the surface, we were just laughing. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna save this and I'm gonna come back to this later. So those were my initial psychedelic experiences, but I didn't know anything about anything. Then I moved to Toronto back in 2017, end of 2017, and it was amazing. I went to Toronto because I really needed a change in my life. I literally overhauled my life. I left a long-term relationship. I left all my friends and family. I just went to Toronto. And then when I first got to Toronto, 2018, 2019, it was literally a mix of both. It was intense events, the whole 2 years of highness and lowness. Those intense events catalyzed my spiritual awakening. I went through a lot of highs, new connections, exploring a new city, and it was when I started NIUVIEWS, actually. It was when I realized I really want to try to do something creative. And before this, I was always in corporate, in digital marketing. So I was doing new things. I was really exploring my passions and purpose. Oh, and then I battled with an eating disorder for a long time. So I was also trying to heal that. And it was interconnected with everything because even though I was healing from that, I wasn't fully committed to my wellness, mind, body, spirit. So in the mix of these high-low events and me kind of committing to self-love, but not really, it started to build up. And then all these emotions built up. And then back in 2019, I lost my uncle due to a serious accident. And those few years were really hard on my family. I still get really emotional whenever I talk about it. So you know that it was very intense for me. And there was also some misconnections in my life in that year, or a misconnection. And I was just in a lot of pain. And it basically pushed me to really look at myself. And that was when I remembered back in Vancouver, I used to do, or I tried psychedelics recreationally with friends. And around that time, I was also dabbling with cannabis. Weed was always a part of my when I was with my friends, we smoked it recreationally, but I started to try it for meditation too. And so I decided to take LSD by myself. And I did that one night back, I think it was end of 2018. And that was my initial very first spiritual awakening. Before this, I was always curious about spirituality. I was always curious about life and death. This is why I talk about the things I talk about in my content. It was always a part of me. I was always good at socializing, but it was always because I'm just very sensitive to energies. I've always had a fascination with human connections and energies and existence and spirituality, life and death and science and quantum physics, all of it, consciousness. So I took LSD by myself. I paired it with edibles, cannabis, and it gave me my first spiritual awakening back in 2018. And that very first spiritual awakening basically crammed a ton of information in me. I asked about love. I asked about true love, like romantically, and also just love in general, because that year I lost my uncle. It basically told me you can get exactly what you want, but self-love is the way. Self-love is the way to true love. You can do it, Ariel. This is the love experience. Oh, the reason why I'm nervous too is because, yo guys, the visions I get on my psychedelic experiences and even just my daily meditations, I get downloads all the time. And even sharing that, I used to be scared to share that because when it gets too esoteric, I feel like people can't understand. but we can all channel. Like, I get messages from source all the time. So in that experience, not only did it show me that self-love is the way to true love, it also showed me consciousness as a whole is evolving as a collective. And I was getting messages of how do I heal my own love, my own self, and also the world is going to change very dramatically very soon. That was in my first spiritual awakening experience, and I was getting signs and messages of things that have been happening already these few years. So that's, you know, that's also contributing to why I'm nervous, because it's so, like, physical things are happening and I got visions of it. So I got all these visions in that initial spiritual awakening. And then I basically started to do psychedelic ceremonies periodically, maybe once a month. And I have a whole process. So that was actually the second video I made on YouTube, and I posted that last year. You guys can check it out. I talked about my process with LSD. I talked about my process with shrooms. If you want to actually use it intentionally to get a spiritual experience, or to really just, it's a tool to understand your life, understand how to find yourself, understand how to heal yourself, understand how to heal your relationships, and understand how to create a vision and meet your vision and purpose. And side note, side plug, if you guys want to get an energy reading from me in my bio link, I also help you with that. Maybe I'll spend a moment to talk about some of the key things I learned through my psychedelic experiences and my cannabis experiences. And my cannabis experiences are just my meditations every night. I take a little bit of edibles. Shout out to Euphoria Extractions. I can't say it. Euphoria Extractions. Euphoria Extractions in Canada. Shout out. Shatter Bars. Yo, the best chocolates ever. They're even just better than normal chocolates, I feel like. They have these dark chocolate, edible chocolates, but sugar-free, naturally made. You can taste the high quality, and it's potent. So I use those for meditations. Some of my biggest revelations and realizations and epiphanies on psychedelics basically were love, is love, am love, be love. It's all love. Love and truth about consciousness. And this is what I talk about in my content, but I try to make it more practical, but how we are all connected. And every time I go into a psychedelic experience, the other thing is I always have issues with relationships, whether it's close relationships or new relationships or work relationships or friendships, or family. Of course, we always are going through something. And in the beginning, that was a lot of it because I was just starting my healing journey. So I had a lot of broken relationships or relationships with potential to improve, basically all my relationships. So I would ask these questions, and because I asked it so much, I was getting the same responses every time whenever I meditated or whenever I had a psychedelic experience. And it showed me love. It just kept telling me and teaching me how to love. And I've done DMT before too, same messages. All of my psychedelic experiences are connected. And it's basically the same core lessons that are shown to you every single time. And it's the same thing that you will experience too if you do psychedelics. But it's going to be shown to you in your own life story. We are all living in our own universe with our own story of our own lives. So it's just going to show you situations in your life and what love truly is. Side note, if you want to do LSD, because one of my main ceremonies I use LSD. If you're in Canada and you want to have a clean experience, try Neurodose. Neurodose, they created a legal substitute of LSD, but it's basically like LSD. And they also created a legal substitute of psilocybin mushrooms. Right now it's only available in Canada, but you can order it online. Their product, their LSD product, is a liquid product. And it's so clean. This is so much cleaner than getting LSD, because LSD still, you don't exactly know how it's made. So if you want consistent clean experiences, really try Neurodose if you're in Canada, okay? And for mushrooms, psilocybin mushrooms, Day Trip Canada, they're in Toronto. They're at Kensington Market. So if you're in Toronto, you can actually go to Kensington Market, mention me, and you can get a discount. They also have e-com. Collectively, our consciousness is shifting, whether you know it or not. And there's a lot of people that are aware and acting on it and becoming it and going with the flow and really riding this wave of evolution of consciousness, becoming more conscious and living and learning how to love. Because if you don't ride the flow and you don't go along with it, it's going to be very scary. That's why also a lot of people think the world is ending, because everything is becoming so apparent. The nuance part though is, it seems easy, but self-love gets very advanced once you learn how to love yourself and you learn how to love other people. Then it's about, where's that balance? And then it gets to higher levels, because you might know how to just be a good person now, but the next step is, how do you become your best self, your highest potential, and not give a fuck? Because you see a lot of content out there and lessons out there, and they're just like, oh, just don't give a fuck, right? Like, be a bad bitch, like, it doesn't matter. But then you're just like, wait, but what if I hurt someone, right? So it gets higher and higher, and there's a way to play the game. There's a way you can be the best version of yourself and bask in the glory of it and not give a fuck about what anyone thinks, but also caring about what everyone thinks. That's really the ironic statement. It's always this balance of contradictions, polarities. That's the way to win the game. To live in this middle balance, stoic balance of polarities, contradictions. Love myself. Put myself first. I don't care about anyone else. But I also care about everyone. I love everyone. I love everyone, and we are one. We are one, but then I also love myself. I love myself the most. I'm number one. And if you think about it, it really is the foundation of everything, because it applies to every single situation in life. Romantic relationships, workplace, family. It's always this balance and this stance of like, stand up for yourself, stand up for your truth. How do you set boundaries? But then always having an eye out for being compassionate and seeing everyone at eye level and treating everyone with kindness, but not to a point of people pleasing, not to a point where you're both starting to mask and come into this conditioned matrix, weird, icky way of living, you know? So it's this weird balance. And that was what I was trained in my psychedelic experiences. These psychedelic experiences trained me. It was like, Ariel, do you know yet? And once you know the concepts, it's one thing to know. The other main thing about psychedelics I really have to disclaim is, if you're taking psychedelics or cannabis right now and you're getting messages and you think you're the shit, you got a lot of work to do, because I went through that too. And it's not linear. You go through things like this, because you'll hit points where you're just like, I just know everything. But it's one thing to know everything. It's another thing completely to act on it. I spent so much time integrating, and I'm still integrating, and things that I thought I integrated in the past comes back more strong. But it's actually to show that I am advancing. So you got to learn how to take psychedelics and then have periods of detachment so you can integrate the lessons. I had periods where I was doing it more, but things weren't changing in my life. And it was confusing, because in the psychedelic experiences, I would get these visions, or I would already be feeling like I'm there and it's all possible and all my visions are happening and it's coming true. And I would think that it would happen right now. Oh my gosh, because you get these like feelings and you feel so good, and you're just like, all I have to do is maybe try this out, try this new thing out, because this is what I want. And then if I try it once or twice, it's just going to happen. And it doesn't work like that. It's a practice. I had to learn so much through it. The integration periods are very necessary. The other example I could take, and I feel like maybe people can relate to this more, because not everyone does psychedelics, but alcohol is a more apparent thing in people's lives. I also detached from alcohol back in 2020. Well, not detached completely, but I trained myself to mostly not drink. And through being able to detach from it, I learned how to do life and do all the events I used to do with alcohol without alcohol. Like, I just learned what I was using alcohol as a crux for. And after I learned that, now I'm able to have it back in my life, and I feel liberated. I feel free, because it's no longer something I need to use for anything. Like, I literally don't need to use it for anything. And honestly, most of the time I don't want to drink at all anymore. But because I understand it now, then I can have these richer experiences with them. For example, if I'm in Europe, in Italy with a lover and I want to have some wine, and because I don't drink as much, then that experience for me will be just more memorable and rich too. And because I don't drink as much, I'm not in this matrix and self not self-deprecating, but self-harming routine of drinking alcohol and feeling sick and being hungover. And I used to have an eating disorder, right? That really affected it too. And not knowing what alcohol does to my body. Because I detach from alcohol, I am way more aware and sensitive when I do drink. So the other thing I want to do now is also just learn more about alcohol and figure out which kinds will actually maybe even help my body. Side note, if you guys want to know how to live to be past 100 years old, watch Living in the Blue Zones. It's a short docu-series on Netflix. I just recently watched it. And this man, he goes to these cities called Blue Zones. And there's like a number of them in the world. And in these cities, people live to be over 100. And it's very common. And he shows their lifestyle practices. There's like a chart and it's gold. We all want to live long and healthy, so watch it. And one of the cities actually had wine as one of the categories. And I saw it, I was like, ooh. And they talked about the process of making wine. And then also in Mexico, you know, tequila, if you get really clean tequila, there's so much information about the good that it does to your body. So I'm just at a phase of exploring these things now. Anyways, I'm going off topic. Come on, reel it back. Come back to shore, Ariel. Come back to shore. This always happens to me. Yeah, detach. So I was using alcohol as an example, but LSD and shrooms, you just need to also detach, have periods of integration, integrate those lessons before you use them again, or else there's no point. The other thing though, which is helpful, is LSD and shrooms naturally have you build your tolerance super fast. So if you do a full LSD experience today, or even if you take some mushrooms today, the next day, if you take the same amount, it's not going to hit you the same. So with microdosing, you can take a couple days on, a couple days off, and you can kind of keep the experience more consistent. But with microdose, you're supposed to only feel a microdose. It's supposed to be very subtle. So I'm talking about full trips. Full trips, if you take a full trip today, the next day, you're not going to be able to hit the same effect. That's naturally designed by nature. So it's not like I go in and I expect this experience to just give me all these things. You got to go in it with intention. That's a huge thing. If you watch my process video on YouTube, I talk about this. If you don't go into it with intention, and even recreation is an intention, but I'm pretty sure, you guys can tell me, I'm pretty sure even if you're like, I'm just going to take some psychedelics for fun, you're still going to get some sort of life lesson. It just happens. But if you don't go into it with intention, that's where a lot of people get bad trips. Or they get chaotic experiences because psychedelics is a tool. It's like asking you, what do you want to experience today? And if you say nothing, or if you're already in a bad mood, it's going to give you that experience. So be intentional. So the reason why I get all of these truths and I can use it for content too, I make it practical, is because I use it very practically. I still have many recreational moments during it. Dancing, I love dancing on psychedelics. It's so fun. I didn't mention that I didn't emphasize that as much in my older videos, but it's amazing. The other thing, like the messages I get, always following my intentions, but the things that do come unexpectedly that I don't ask for, but it has been feeding to me since the first experience, is visions. Visions of where the world is going, and also my destiny. Actually, now that I think about it, it's weird because it's been a partnership. Me building my vision and destiny of my future has been a partnership of, I think, what I just have always wanted in my heart. And the psychedelic experience actually pulls it out of me, because I'm sure we all kind of have similar experiences. We all kind of know what we like and we don't like, and passions and skills. And sometimes it doesn't make sense, or sometimes we feel like the things that we actually like, it's embarrassing, or it's not going to be useful or helpful, or it's not connected to what we think we can do in our life and purpose and career. So these psychedelic experiences also really connected dots for me. It shows me, how do I connect everything? How do I really live my truth and my purpose and my destiny doing something I love, I really love, and I can just get lost in, but it's also serving. It's serving in all the ways. It's serving me, it's just serving. It's serving the public, it's serving everything. So the unexpected parts of my psychedelic experiences would be the visions of the future. And again, it's always this mix of whoa, it's what I want. Is it possible? Really? And I get these crazy visions, guys. It involves psychedelic, spirituality, music festivals, science, quantum physics, consciousness, immortality, Elon Musk, Einstein, Nikola Tesla. It makes a lot of sense in my head actually now. Like, it's actually very clear. But the reason why I laugh is because I feel like other people don't understand it. But the other thing that led me to start to led me to naturally detach from them more and take more breaks in between full ceremonies, full psychedelic ceremonies, is also if you start to use psychedelics routinely in your life and you're actually using it practically for your life, your purpose, your path, your healing. I'm curious what other people experience, but for me, it went from being very esoteric, all these experiences, and I would take bits and pieces and I would improve my life with it. You know, it was still very esoteric. So when the next day when I wake up, it's kind of still a dream. It still felt more like a dream. Everything was always more dreamlike. And it's weird because when it's more dreamlike, all these intense visions I get, it was easier for me to take the lessons and then come back to this 3D world. Even though there's a lot of pain and challenges, it's more so la-di-da. I'm just going with the flow, because the things that I was seeing still felt like it could be real, it could not be, but there's a lot of gems, so I'm going to try to use it in my life. However, as the years went on, this is actually both ecstatic and just amazing and almost too profound for me to even say, but also kind of scary. What started happening was I started to manifest everything. The more I became and created everything I saw in my visions in reality, it started to happen. Like, now, the biggest thing is my own change, my own evolution. Who I saw in my visions I want to be, I'm becoming her. I am her. I'm always going to be becoming her. But I feel it. I see it. It's happening. So that was the number one that I was just like, this is no joke. Because when I was first getting these visions, the other thing was kind of sad. But I told you guys I had an eating disorder, right? Like the very first visions I got when I saw and it was funny because I think the first time I saw the end, well, not the end, it's life, consciousness will always continue, but I saw the grandest vision happening in my initial, like my very first steps of this journey. So at that point I was also like, how is that possible? I wasn't even doing NIUVIEWS yet. I wasn't doing none of this. So I was like, how? I see myself, I was just like, how? There's no way. Like, what? That's why I was so, how is this possible? And I told you guys, these visions, not just me, it's like the world, consciousness, where we're going, everything. So in the beginning, because it seemed so far away, it seemed more like a dream, like a story. When I came back into soberness, even though I was making some changes and I was kind of thinking about it, I was still living day to day the same, mostly, with minor improvements. But as I continued on and as these experiences got more intense and as I started to remember more, I used to have these experiences, I would forget about it the next day and I would only remember the feelings. And now I remember everything. And that's a blessing, but also not a curse, but it feels like a curse until you can consciously integrate it in yourself. Because these psychedelic experiences I would have now is basically just showing me what I need to do now to get myself to that vision that I used to think was just a crazy dream. So because of this pressure, it actually allows me to do it less and it gives me more responsibility. Psychedelics really was the thing that kicked me into full commitment to self-love, healing, everything in my life, every single part. And when I say every single part, it goes down to the moment by moment living. Like when I'm conscious right now, when I'm interacting on a live, what I notice, and in my energy levels, like how much I should care. What is a way to care without caring? To care and make improvements, but still be my best self. I'm just living all the integrations of the truths I've learned in my psychedelic experiences in every single moment. And that's a point for all of us, actually. I think it's a point of all of this. It's for all of us to learn love. And psychedelics has been my source, psychedelics and cannabis, but other people might have other sources. There's so many ways to tap into source consciousness, and source consciousness is like our higher selves, God, the oneness. Everyone has so many different ways, and that's the point. Whatever you want to subscribe to in this universe, in this lifetime, and we're moving. The reason why I mentioned technology, science, and all of that is because all of this is going to become more and more connected, or it's going to be revealed that it's more and more connected, and there's going to be more and more ways for everyone to experience true love, how to heal, how to live and love, and start to believe and accept and just know these spiritual underlying concepts of love and oneness is just plain and simple living. It's both profound, like the most profound thing you can ever experience, but also just very basic. It's just how everything works. But the potential and possibilities of where we can go collectively if we all wake up and we all live in this way and we all live in love and fully are endless. If you guys want to put questions in the question box, I'll answer a few questions now, and you guys can also go in and like the ones that you like so I can prioritize those. But thank you so much for anyone that's been here for a while, for listening and for being here and for allowing me to share my story. And if I was nervous or I said weird things, just please forgive me, because I'm still trying to learn how to fully express myself properly with these topics. It's hard. You know, it's so clear in my mind, but you guys know this. Things are so clear in your mind. That's why I do my socializing content. But when you need to actually say it out loud, verbalize it, I just word vomit. I have a plan. I'm just like, I need to share this. I'm so excited because it's like the truth of the universe. It's love. It's oneness. And then when I start talking, I'm just like, what am I saying? Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That was a comment I needed. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit vulnerable with you guys right now, okay? My Instagram fam, this is actually my first live on Instagram in a while, but I feel connected to you guys. You guys always give me so much love and support, and I truly appreciate it. Because even though I speak and my content is focused on speaking, I have so many insecurities on speaking too. That's why I've put so much focus on it. It's so funny. That's why I get an energy reading from me, because I will also show you guys how your gifts could also be your kryptonite, and you have to just come into awareness of seeing it objectively and know how to balance and hone and improve while loving and accepting yourself. And this is a journey for me. So I really appreciate you guys giving me space and time to share my story too. I'm truly appreciative. And I really want to share more about this, so please engage with me on these topics. I had a terrible experience the first time taking psychedelics. I just don't think I was in the right mental place for it. Do you think it's for everyone? I get it, Nick. And definitely take my content, my suggestions, my recommendations, take what resonates. And for people that's not for you, it's not for you. It doesn't have to be. I think I mentioned earlier, even me, I come into weird battles with myself because I also have a goal on how do I reach these connected high states of consciousness where I'm connected with the source. I get there through psychedelics and cannabis, but I want to learn, is it possible for me to just get there naturally in my everyday, like right now, right here, right now? The thing is, it is though. The other thing I'm realizing is, so you can find your own way, Nick. But if you're curious, I would say try it again, be open, be happy, get an energy reading from me, ask me your questions, let me give you some guidelines. I'm passionate about it. So I do think I have a vision that I want to produce a music festival and be on stage guiding people on psychedelics. At the same time I'm on it, and you guys are all on it too, because I think the most amazing thing is if a bunch of people are on it at the same time, but from a place of love and oneness, and we're all celebrating at the same time, and there's a guide there, me. So I can guide you guys on, like, drink some water. Okay, everyone go to sleep. Like, take some edibles right now, and then we're going to pass out in 2 hours. But seriously, so Nick, I do hope you give it a chance, but if not, find other activities that help you. It's more about, what do I use psychedelics for? Thank you for your question though, because that's actually a great point. What I use it for cannabis and psychedelics is to get me to a high conscious connected state of oneness where I'm with God. I am God. God is in me. Don't at me if you don't understand what I'm talking about. But God energy is within all of us. I also love God. Sometimes he's literally helping me, but sometimes he's in me. Like, it's all everywhere. So there are other ways to get to that state, but that's the point. These are tools to help you get to that state, so then you get the messages you need to come back to this 3D matrix life to make the changes and butterfly effect your love to everyone around you and inspire you, and everyone will start to make changes in their lives. And then one day we're going to see this world change and shift. It's already happening to a new place, but it's going to be very subtle. It's already happening. You guys tell me, look at the world right now. Yes, there's a lot of chaos too, but the moments where when you're living in your balance bliss and you know everything is okay, and you go on Instagram or TikTok and you see content about consciousness and you're like, yes, or like, we're already okay, everything is always okay, and you're like, yes, those are moments showing you, wait a minute, right now whatever I'm thinking, feeling, believing versus 5 years ago has shifted. Like, this would have seemed impossible 5 years ago, so it's already happening. So Nick, it's okay, but be open, and if you want to find another way, there's many other ways you can get there. But I'm also figuring out myself. I do think psychedelics and cannabis is a shortcut to getting these messages. Okay, that's a good question. I love your questions. Thank you guys for such thoughtful questions. It's great. CNL, how do you safely enjoy psychedelics again?